Greetings to you all. Today in this audio, I would like to share on the topic, sensual pleasure, beauty, and feeling. From a Buddhist perspective. Part 1: Sensual pleasure in Buddhism, the sweet, bitter, and spicy taste and the path to liberation. According to Buddhist viewpoint, sensual pleasure includes 5 elements: form, sound, smell, taste, and touch. These 5 create pleasant sensations through the 5 senses of human beings. It can be said that sensual pleasure is the sweet taste that everyone craves in life. However, according to the Buddha's teaching, the path of pursuing such pleasure is also full of dangers and hidden suffering. Humans have to work hard to pursue sensual pleasure. In order to obtain what they desire, people have to spend a lot of effort and assets. They have to work hard, exchanging it with sweat and tears to have money for shopping, dining, entertainment, luxury living. However, no matter how busy and struggling they are, humans can never satisfy all their desires. Because human greed and delusion are endless, never satisfied. So they keep chasing after sensual pleasure, but eventually end up disappointed. Not attaining sensual pleasure is suffering, attaining it also fears loss. When striving their best yet still unable to satisfy their passion, people fall into the feeling of pain and disappointment. Even when they have attained what they want, they live in anxiety and fear of loss. Because possessions, status, power, are all fragile, impermanent. Natural disasters and enemy harm can happen at any time, turning everything into smoke. Therefore, those who chase after sensual pleasure, no matter how much they attain, still live in constant fear. Sensual pleasure is the cause of sins and conflicts in society. Moreover, according to Buddhism, it is because of the pursuit of sensual pleasure that people become utterly shameless and immoral. Due to excessive desires, they easily fall into cruel acts that violate moral laws such as murder, robbery, incest. Not only individuals, but society is also affected. Contradictions, disputes, resentments, and endless wars are the inevitable consequences when people indulge too deeply into the 5 desires. Thus, it can be seen that although sensual pleasure brings initial sweetness, in the long run it leads to endless bitterness and disaster for both individuals and society. So what should be done to escape this vicious cycle? The path to liberation from sensual desires. According to the Buddha, the only way to escape the suffering caused by sensual pleasure is to completely let go of all cravings and thirsts. Get rid of passions, no longer cling to or crave anything. When the mind is no longer obsessed, craving, when one has overcome all fetters of greed, anger, and delusion, then at that time, people are truly free and blissful. That is the state of enlightenment and liberation that the Buddha wants to point out to sentient beings. A state of no longer craving or desiring anything, whether material or spiritual. Only then will life be truly serene and happy. Thus, it can be seen that Buddhism has a very profound and realistic view on the nature of sensual pleasure. Thereby, the Buddha pointed out to us the path to escape from that vicious cycle of suffering, which is to completely abandon all cravings and attachments. Part 2: Beauty in Buddhism, Impermanent Beauty and the Path to Liberation. In Buddhism, beauty is seen as one of the most powerful alluring factors, having the power to attract people into the cycle of rebirth and death. The physical beauty of the opposite sex often makes us infatuated and longing. However, the Buddha also pointed out that such beauty is very fragile and impermanent. It will fade over time and eventually disappear with death. Beauty fades over time. Human beauty only exists for a short period of life, during one's youth. When still young, smooth skin, silky black hair, a slender and charming figure, all create dazzling and attractive beauty. But over the years, that beauty gradually fades away. Skin appears wrinkled, hair turns white, the body hunches over. By the time one reaches old age, people completely lose their former beauty, instead replaced by an old, frail physique. Even when still young, beauty is not always radiant. Illness can make the skin haggard, eyes blurry, beauty wilted. Thus, beauty is inherently very fragile, not enduring. Beauty disappears with death. Finally, death will surely come to everyone. Then, the corpse will decompose and disintegrate into dust. Among the pile of dry, barren bones, there is no trace left of the beauty that once mesmerized so many people. Thus, it can be seen that beauty is actually very impermanent, not worth clinging to and forgetting about the goal of liberation. Do not chase outer beauty. Realizing the impermanence of beauty, Buddhism advises people not to chase too much after external physical attractiveness. What is more important is to cultivate inner beauty, the beauty of a pure and serene soul. Only when the mind is no longer obsessed with external desires and cravings can one live serenely and freely. That is truly the path to liberation from the cycle of birth and death in the perspective of Buddhism. Thus, it can be seen that Buddhism has given a profound perspective on the issue of beauty. At the same time, the Buddha also pointed out the path to transcend the trap of beauty, heading towards enlightenment and complete liberation. Part 3: Feeling in Buddhism, the Impermanence of Emotions and the Path to Liberation. According to the Buddhist viewpoint, feeling or emotion refers to all the states and sensations that people experience in life. There are many different types of emotions, from joy and happiness to sadness and suffering. However, according to Buddhism, whether they are positive or negative emotions, all are very fragile and impermanent. They are always changing, nothing is enduring. Even immense joy will eventually fade. When encountering good fortune and success, it is easy for people to get caught up in the surge of joyful and delighted emotions. Blissful moments with loved ones, the thrill of victory, seem like they will last forever. But in reality, even the greatest joys and most intense emotions will eventually pass. They only exist for a brief moment, before vanishing like soap bubbles. Sometimes, delight suddenly turns into sadness. Emotions are always changing, nothing is enduring. Not only positive emotions, but even negative feelings like grief and despair are also not enduring. They come and go, always transforming. Today, you may be very happy, but tomorrow you may fall into a state of discouragement and disappointment. One moment, you are furious enough to want to smash things to pieces, but shortly after, the anger has subsided. Emotions are so unpredictable, ceaselessly changing according to circumstances. Precisely because of that impermanence that Buddhism believes people should not cling to emotions, whether good or bad. They are not a place to find lasting peace and happiness. The path to liberation is letting go of attachments. So what should be done to escape the shackles of emotions, so that the mind is no longer drowned in the ups and downs of joy and sorrow? The only way is to completely let go of all attachments and reluctance towards those feelings/emotions. Do not let the mind be swept away by the tide of emotions, nor try to cling to pleasant sensations when they have passed. Let the soul always remain balanced and firm amidst all the changes in emotions. Only that is the way to live in true peace and liberation. Thus, Buddhism has given a very profound perspective on the ephemeral nature of human emotions. At the same time, the Buddha also pointed out the method to transcend emotions, moving towards perfect serenity and liberation. Part 4, Conclusion. In summary, through the analysis of the three aspects of sensual pleasure, beauty and feeling in Buddhism, some remarks can be made. Firstly, all three factors initially have a positive side, bringing temporary joy and happiness to people. However, they simultaneously also contain many dangers and suffering when people indulge in them too deeply. Secondly, all are very fragile and impermanent. Sensual pleasures, beauty, emotions are ceaselessly changing, not enduring for long. Even the greatest joy will eventually pass. Thus, they should not be relied on as a steady base for happiness. Thirdly, according to Buddhism, the only way to attain true peace and liberation is to completely abandon all cravings and attachments towards the above factors. That is the only way to transcend the cycle of birth and death. Thus, hopefully through the above analysis, we can understand more clearly the true nature of the three elements of sensual pleasure, beauty, and feeling, thereby applying the Buddha's teaching to live a peaceful and liberated life amidst this secular world. Thank you all for listening to this audio. I wish you a blissful day.